Hi Vintage Bakers! Today I'm in the kitchen baking bread.
A cheese bread loaf that's warm, soft, and packed with cheesy goodness.
This easy bread recipe is no more complicated than any regular bread loaf.
With a crisp, crusty topping and a layer of cheddar cheese rolled and twisted throughout the loaf.
And this recipe will leave you with 2 loaves of fresh bread.
The bread itself is ultra soft and pillowy, the ultimate in decadent flavored breads.
So let's get into the kitchen. This is how I make a cheese bread loaf. To start my dough, I'm going to add 1 1/4 cups of warm milk and 1 tablespoon of sugar to a large bowl. Give it a quick stir to dissolve the sugar and then sprinkle over top 2 1/4 teaspoons of dry active yeast. I'm going to set this aside for a few minutes for the yeast to soften and start to get foamy. Now that the yeast is ready, I'm going to add in 3 eggs. For this bread recipe, I'm using an enriched dough, which basically just means my bread dough is going to have a higher fat content. This makes a super soft and pillowy loaf. Along with the eggs, I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of softened butter, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and then finally 6 cups of all-purpose flour. If you're using a stand mixer, you can mix this with the dough hook attachment and knead for about 5 minutes or until the dough is soft, elastic, and cleans the sides of the bowl. You can also make this dough by hand with no special equipment at all. Just mix your dough in a large bowl until the ingredients are combined, and then tip it out onto a floured countertop and knead the dough until you have a smooth, elastic dough ball, which should take about 8 minutes by hand. Cover the dough and allow it to rise in a warm spot for about an hour. Now you can see my dough has puffed up to about doubled its starting size and is ready to be shaped into loaves. This dough will give you enough to make 2 good-sized loaves, so I'm going to split my dough in half. If you want to be very precise about this, you can measure it on a scale, but for me, eyeballing always works out just fine. I'm going to stretch out each half of dough into a rectangle. We're going to be rolling this up with cheese, so the shorter end should be about the length of your loaf pan. You can either just use your hands and fingertips to form it into a rough rectangle, or you can use a rolling pin. I've already grated 400 grams of cheese, which I'm going to split and roll between the 2 loaves. Today I'm using sharp cheddar cheese, just because I like the classic look of the orange cheese swirled throughout the loaf, but feel free to swap this out for your favorite cheese. Now you can either cover the entire rectangle with cheese and roll it up just like you would a cinnamon roll, or you can place the cheese in increments and roll as you go. I tend to do it this way because I feel the dough holds together better. Either way, make sure to leave a little space of dough at the end to pinch and hold the end of the roll together. Now you can either leave the loaf exactly like this and pop it into your loaf pan, or give it a little added flourish by cutting the dough in half lengthwise and twisting the 2 halves around each other. Pinch both ends of the twist together so nothing comes unraveled, and then place the loaves into 2 greased loaf pans. The loaves are ready to get tucked under the towel again to rise in a warm spot until they're just about doubled in size, which takes about a half an hour. Meanwhile, I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius. My loaves have plumped up and are ready to go into the oven. I'm going to bake them in my preheated oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Remove them from the oven and top with a layer of shredded cheese. If you put the top layer of cheese on at the beginning, it will overcook, and we just want it to melt and slightly golden. This step is optional. Since the loaf is already filled with swirls of cheese, it will be packed with cheesy goodness just as it is. I'm going to return them to the oven for about 5 minutes more to melt and crisp up the cheese. Remove from the oven and let the loaves cool slightly. Then they're ready to slice and serve. This bread is perfect served warm and fresh with butter, cooked into an epically cheesy grilled cheese sandwich, or served alongside your favorite meal. Enjoy! If you're a fan of deliciously simple vintage recipes and old-fashioned skills, then you'll want to check out this next video. Thanks for stopping by.